It's Thursday in Tryon, North Carolina, and we had an exciting morning this morning. It was about 5:30 that Lois started hearing some noises, and I slept through those first noises, and then about 6 o'clock I heard some noises, and a raccoon's been coming up and emptying our bird feeders. He climbs up a tree and swings out onto the deck, or he climbs up one of the metal posts that holds up our deck. Now our deck, some of you have been here and some of you haven't since we put on the addition. Our deck is some 25 feet above the ground below and looks out at the lake. And the raccoon somehow gets up that metal pole and swings himself up onto the deck and gets into the bird seed and the bird feeders. Well, I thought it was a raccoon, so I raced around and looked out on the deck, and I didn't see the raccoon anyplace. So I thought I would go check to see if he was out there hiding behind a chair or something else. But before I could open the door and go out and check to see where he was, I noticed there was something large over by the storage container for the bird seed. And thought it was a tarp or something that had blown off of a barbecue grill or off a chair. It was just breaking light, and then I saw that shadow move. And what we had on our deck was a 300-pound bear. And he had climbed up a tree and swung over onto the deck. And he was huge. He was absolutely huge. And if I'd gone out on the deck, I would have gotten myself between him and his escape route, the tree, and no telling what would have happened. Nevertheless, he sauntered off to the side of the deck, stood up on the rail, sat down on the rail, swung himself over to the tree, and went back down to the ground. So it was an exciting morning, and we would have had quite a time trying to get him off the deck if he couldn't have gotten off on his own. I don't know what we would have done. Maybe called for a game warden with a tranquilizer gun or something, but it was an exciting time. There's a time like that in the book of Acts in chapter 23 that continues to tell us that God's in control. He's always in control, no matter when we don't think he is. You see, Paul had been taken captive, and the Jews wanted to kill him. And it says very clearly in chapter 23, verses 12 through 15, that there were 40 of those Jews who made a vow that they wouldn't eat or drink until Paul was dead. Now, that's a pretty serious plot. 40 men who say they're not going to eat or drink until Paul is dead. Well, God is in control. Paul's ministry was not finished. He was still supposed to witness before kings and in Rome, and he hadn't done that yet. So word got to the commander. And in chapter 23, verses 23 and 24, you find out that God sometimes works the opposite way, as he did with Gideon and the 300 soldiers. This time, with 40 plotting to kill Paul, the centurions and the commander bring together 200 soldiers, 70 horsemen, 2,000 spearmen, and horses and mounts for Paul. I want you to picture this in your mind. It seems like Paul's in an incredibly bad situation, and there's no way out. 40 men who said they're not going to eat or drink until they kill Paul. Paul's a prisoner. Some of those Romans that were in there probably wouldn't have cared whether Paul was dead or not. As a matter of fact, might have been glad if he was. But the commander that hears about this plot of the 40 puts together 200 soldiers, 70 horsemen, 200 spearmen, and horses and mounts for Paul. Paul didn't even have to walk in order to go to trial. He had 472 people to protect him against 40. Ain't God good? I mean, it's just incredible to me that God shows you he's on his throne and he can do it any way he wants to. Don't ever put him in a box. Don't ever say that he has to do it with a small group of people like he did with Gideon. Sometimes he can do it with a tremendous army. It's up to God. God can do it any way he wants to, but God's on his throne. Sometimes I get depressed thinking about the next generation. And yet, as I have attended the latest church services and watched some of the postings of the parents of some of the young people, I see that there is still a remnant. There are still godly young men and women who love the Lord with all their heart, who have committed themselves to him and to his ways, who are receiving accolades because their character and their qualities are being seen by those around them. God's still on his throne. Now, he may call us all home tomorrow, but even if he doesn't, there is a remnant of his people, children of Christians, who are coming up through the high schools and the colleges, who are fully committed to him. Don't forget, he's on his throne. That's your thought for the day. Hope you don't find a 300-pound bear on your patio tomorrow. God bless you, and think about that for a while.